Hello everyone and my dear students. This is another request video, and now I will deal with Amartya Sen's The Argumentative Indian. Argument, this particular term is or has a negative connotation as far as Indian context, Indian societal fabric is concerned. So, argument means something negative, and it has a empirical attitude. Argument, as per the general feeling or notion of the word, a small boy or a man who is smaller or inferior to another cannot have the audacity to argue. So, the title itself very significant, because Amartya Sen deliberately has given this title, Argumentative Indian. Indians, in the eyes of the Western world, Western country, still now thought to be a nation, a race which is inferior to the Europeans, to the Americans. This is utter ignorance. The British also left indelible imprint on the psyche of the Indians who were with the nearness of the British Raj, and still this mentality is visible in attitude and writings. This essay, Argumentative Indian, is a collection of essays, the essays which hits the sentiment of the reader, and Amartya Sen provokes or pokes the hidden spark. Okay. The first essay, which is I am now discussing, Argumentative Indian, it is a voice, it is an example of voice and heterodoxy. Heterodoxy means different opinions, okay, different things. The essay explains in detail about the contemporary India Contemporary India means specifically 2005, tracing back to the history from the traditional ancient India, even he goes back to Mahabharata. So I will discuss the essay into categorically. The first category will be the critical summary. Okay, the critical summary of the argumentative Indian. Then gender, caste and voice in this essay. Then democracy as public reasoning. Democracy as public reasoning. Next, understanding secularism. Understanding secularism. Then skepticism, agnostics and atheists. Skepticism, agnostics and atheists. Then science, epistemology and heterodoxy. And lastly, the importance of arguments. Okay. So as I began with this word argument, it is different from debate. Okay. However, India has a long back tradition of argument as discourse. Okay. The essay starts with a negative connotation, negative introduction about India. It starts with the prolixity, Prolixity, prolixity means verbiage, boring words, boring sentences that makes a writing dull. Prolixity is not alien to us in India. So what he wants to mean is that the Indian writers, Indian literature, it has an elaborative approach of writing. Instead of going directly to the point, okay, with an illustration about the longest speech recorded by an Indian, set by an Indian, Krishna Menon. Okay. Then this statement is further substantiated from the ancient Indian epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, comparing its length with Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. From the epics, the argumentative tradition is traced back to our argument between the discourse of Krishna, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, that is quoted in Bhagavad Gita. Not only the argument that was one, but also other side of the argument is given the equal significance. If an argument is defeated, it doesn't mean that the argument is finished. The argument still has validity, and in future it may crop up with another point of argument. A defeated argument that refuses to be obliterated can remain very alive. So, argument which is defeated but not cow down, not defeated, is still valid. Okay. These dialogues between Krishna and Arjuna is borrowed by Europeans and European culture and certain famous personalities like Robert J. Oppenheimer, when he said, when the first plutonium bomb exploded, he quoted from Gita and told himself that I am the destroyer of the humankind. Due to its significance, Oppenheimer he considered himself as the destroyer of the human race. First world borrowing from the third world, that shows the gap that can be filled by borrowing, is post-colonial reading. So borrow, lending and borrowing, okay, is interrelated. So first world, okay, first world means European countries borrowing from the third world like India, okay, China. China is not third world, however, Pakistan, Bangladesh, okay, third world. That shows that the gap that can be filled by borrowing. So borrowing is not a matter of shame. If you borrow, you will be rich. You have to be substantially very polite, and you have to be you have to have acceptability. The argument has not lost its significance even in the contemporary time, is the assertive statement of Amartya. Still, if we read Gita, if we read the conversation, so we can see this is very much alive and relevant today's world. This world is not our own world, but Indian world. So it reflects the unique ways to solving the problem of human being. Okay. Now then he describes some gender, caste and voice. The tradition of argument is confined to an exclusive part of the male elite. Woman as wife in the corner of room is not allowed for argument. Okay. Elite who have taken the place left by the Britishers in India. So the male chauvinistic attitude, the male the patriarch society, or patriarch society, India had been the patriarch society, but the influence of the authority, superiority, okay, has transcended from the British rule to the main male body of a family. Though India is said to be patriarchal, it had as an women leaders governing the country. So we had Indira Gandhi, we had Rani Lakshmi Bai. So though it was a traditional the male dominant society, male chauvinistic society, but women were never stopped or thwarted not to go ahead, okay, or excel their skill. Okay. So yet such women leaders are not elected in the US, in United States. if you go and have first-hand experience, you will be very surprised and very worried about the system and the societal fabrics in America. The blacks are hated, still hated. They have their own place. They are not allowed. Okay. If you read the book by that is to Soar with Love, okay, you will see that how hard it was for a black man to establish in the society, in the American society. But in India, it is not, never were there. Okay. Democracy and republic reasoning. India is the largest democracy today. Indian democracy is formed by the impact of British. They have left, and there was a requirement of a new Indian government, and that government cannot be a substitute of the British government. So Jawaharlal Nehru and others, the Mahatma Gandhi, they had no way but to establish a democracy. Definition of democracy in government by discussion, which was never practiced in India. Now, why Amartya Sen wrote this book? It is a result of his observation, his acquaintance with the central government, their bureaucrats, their representatives, how they have behaved, how they have took things. So it is an outburst of his practical emotion that he has seen very closely. As said earlier in my lecture, that the privileged upper elite male community occupied the place of the Britishers. The elite and rich people, they try to oppress, till now oppress the lower one, the poor one, and they are representative of the British essence, British imperialism, okay, imperialism, and govern it according to their desire. People in India have lost their argumentative tradition, that they accept all policies without questioning it. So it is a democratic country, and it is a democratic country of 140 crore people. It is difficult for everybody individual to reach to the pinnacle of the government, but at the base level, at the foothill, Amartya Sen finds that the argument has finished. People are now accepting everything without reasoning, without questioning, without argument. Understanding the secularism. What is secularism? Secularism means the country has no religion. Every Indian is free to accept any religion, to worship any god, to chant any mantra. Okay. In India, secular country that gives place Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, Jews, Christians, Muslims, Parsis, Sikhs, Bahas, all others in an equal platform. Hindu is 90%, that doesn't mean that they will have upper hand. The origins of all these religions are also discussed in detail from the history. If you go more detail, that the Brahmans, okay, the Vaishyas, the Shudras, okay, these castes were always a part and parcel of the Indian society, Indian societal fabrics. Therefore, secularism here now, as far as 2005 is concerned, what he says or what he sees, what he perceives, what he felt, Amartya Sen, that the tolerance among people, Indian, has reduced because of some mechanism, that political mechanism, who the people who are sitting in the central government. Now, for the skeptics, agnostics and atheists, all these concepts are also explained, is there in our religion, in our ancient texts. Okay, if you read Manu, if we read if we read the different type of Indian philosophical views, Nyaya Darshan, okay, Vaisheshik Darshan, Charbak is atheists. They do not believe in God. They do not believe in the existence of God. Science, epistemology and heterodoxy. Before the history of scientific contributions across the world began, he says, it has already begun in India. So, India from the ancient time, our forefathers, they had the scientific mindset, the bent, scientific bent, and that's why we know that the zero is developed, or it was discovered or invented by Aryabhatta in India. This can be proved by the history of ancient India. Many philosophical understandings sprang up in Indian writings before it appeared in the Western mind. We do not have to go too far. If we go to 1893, the Chicago address of Swami Vivekananda, there is also he told that tolerance and toleration, okay, tolerance and toleration of our culture, our religion. Now, what is the importance of argument? Why it is required to be argumentative? Why you need to be argumentative? Argumentative heritage of India is needed to look at the impact of different influences that have shaped India as its traditions. The democracy, the intellectual society, the social history of India. Okay, that is mentioned in our discussion in Krishna and Arjuna. That is discussion we find in the argument between Draupadi and the older people in the Rajya in the place where she was molested by Duryodhana and his brothers, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Bhishma. They are all asked fundamental questions. When she says that how Yudhishthir lost me, when he lost me, then how he can keep or how he can give me or keep me as his pawn, PAWN pawn. Okay. So argumentative heritage is there, was there in India, was there in our ancient topics, but nowadays people are accepting everything because they have lost the argumentative capabilities. Might be because of some reasons, maybe muscle power, maybe political reason, maybe monetary involvement. So the post-colonial way of reading this essay not only lists the riches of India but challenges the first world countries, pointing out their dependence on the third world countries. On the other hand, India is not the same as before. Things have changed. The argument has become extinct. Acceptance has taken its place in contemporary India, but the cultural heritage and the values of argument has not lost its importance in the life of Indian democracy. So this is how this beautiful intellectual essay is written by Amartya Sen, the famous Nobel laureate and economist. I hope students will understand and get benefited of it. Thank you. And before I go, let me complete that I am Dr. Kamal Bhattacharya from Mother University, Roorkee, Haridwar, Uttarakhand. If you have any question, please you can write it. Thank you.